Oh no, I'm back in the building! Oh god, I think I'm dying. So I haven't played Wuthering Waves in like 4 months, something like that. The last thing I did was the Frolova story, and I liked it. I thought it was a great tragedy. Don't get me wrong, I do have some minor nitpicks here and there, but overall, I liked it. I thought it was a great story. My favorite part was when Frolova made me realize how much of a hypocrite the Rover is. Rover finally felt like a real character and not just another boring, generic, like overpowered Kirito wannabe. They felt like a real boy, like Pinocchio. But yeah, after I played the story, I just never logged in again, and I'm not sure why, because I don't hate Wuthering Waves or anything. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a perfect masterpiece. I do have some criticisms, but I do like the game. I think it's fun. It's able to keep my attention for the most part. But yeah, I don't know, after Frolova, I just didn't log in again until recently because I got super sick and in my near-death state. Don't worry, it wasn't actually that bad. I just randomly got the energy to play the game again, so I did. And I wanted to make a video about it. So if you don't like the video, blame Sick Vladimir, because this is his fault. When I logged in, I was still in the underwater location that was released alongside Frolova. So the first thing I did was 100% explore this area, which was easy because this place is surprisingly small. Visually, it looks great. I love the art direction of the underwater place. I forgot what it was called. But honestly, there was very little content, very little treasure chests, very little enemies to fight, very little puzzles. Nothing that interesting actually happened. Once you remove the story aspect of this location from an actual gameplay and exploration standpoint, honestly, the underwater location is pretty disappointing. After that, I decided to continue the story from where I left off. I met this sexy poet named, Poet, and he made me play this fun little choose your own adventure game based on Augusta. Basically, you have a little text blurb describing what's happening, and then you choose one of two options. The goal is to choose the option that the real Augusta would have chosen in order to get points in one of 4 categories. I really liked this. It was simple but a great fun and short way to know more about her. Most of the time, the choices were very obvious. Give up the warrior's path and fade into obscurity, or persevere and make your dreams a reality. Geez, I wonder which one is the correct choice. But sometimes it was a bit harder. I took the offensive option during a fight and lost a lot of points. Based on my little knowledge of Augusta, I thought that was the correct option, but turns out it was the defensive option. At least I'm assuming it was. Who knows, maybe you lose points either way, since the opponent Augusta was fighting is super strong. I wish this was something they added for every character, 4-star and 5-star, since it would be a great, easy to make and short way to explore every playable character. I won't deeply analyze the Augusta or other main stories I played, but I do want to talk about some things that stood out to me. The section where we ran away from the monster T-Rex was really cool, if not a little underwhelming. Visually, it was awesome. A visual spectacle, seeing him cause rocks to fall on top of you, headbutt walls to bust them down, break through the floor to try and eat you, being a constant nuisance. But from a gameplay standpoint, there was very little sense of danger or interactability outside of the moment where he try to eat you, where you have to use your little grappling hook thingy. But even then, it's just a one button press and you're safe. Honestly, I don't think he can actually damage you when you're running around and he's breaking stuff. At the very least, I never got hurt, so while cool, it was kind of boring because all you actually are doing was running down a corridor. If they specifically do something like this again where something is chasing you down, hopefully they will add a real sense of danger by giving us a failure state. Let us get hurt or fail a quick time event, and if that happens, we die and have to start at the beginning of the sequence again. They've done similar set pieces in the past and in the other story chapters I played, like in the Yuno story, but they've always lacked interactivity. Clearly, they love the idea of these big set pieces being playable, but they really need to focus on improving the gameplay component. Not gonna lie, the Augusta 1v1 was disappointing. The idea is really cool, fighting the champion and leader of Septimon, a gladiator civilization where power is above all. You would think the fight would be a super hard and epic battle where she's doing all kinds of crazy attacks, speed blitzing you and using her magnetism powers on her swords to hit you from every angle. But no, she kinda just stands there and sometimes uses her ultimate. You pretty much just have to constantly attack her and then sometimes dodge her ultimate. Please do me a favor and ignore how bad my gameplay is. I completely forgot how to play this game. Reminder, it's been 4 months. Legit, what the hell does Arrow Rover do? The final boss fight was pretty cool. Got my ass beat, but again, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing or how to play these characters. Gonna be honest, I think Yuno should have stayed dead. In a vacuum, I think her act was good and I liked it. It explored her history, showing who she is, her struggles, and why she chose to sacrifice herself. But once the dust settled and she was ridden back into reality, I found myself not caring that she was alive. I was honestly disappointed. Like I said, in a vacuum, the story works, but once you zoom out, it's just another story of our perfect, boring, insanely overpowered God Rover saving the day. Up until this point, the story of Wuthering Waves heavily suffered from zero stakes. Regardless of what happens, there is never a sense of real danger because I know Rover is going to strike a cool pose or unleash a new random power out of their ass in order to save the day. Rover is so beyond overpowered to the point that the story from launch up until the Yuno story had zero tension. They always win. The only exception to that was the Frolova act, but not because they couldn't save her, rather because they didn't want to save her. Let's be honest, if the Rover wanted to save Frolova, they would've. I don't know what the hell they would have done, but they would have done something. Considering Cristofolo was able to bring her back, the Rover definitely could have if they wanted to. If Rover went on this insane journey to try and rewrite reality, change the timeline in order to save Yuno, but no matter how hard, how desperately they wanted it, failed anyways, that would have made the Yuno act a true gut punch. After all these victories, all these conquests, they failed to save a supposed friend. Let's be honest, we have literally zero connection to Yuno. We've only known her for like 10 minutes, but whatever, that is a different discussion entirely. If we failed, that would have finally added some real stakes and consequences to the story. Yuno made her choice, and Rover has to accept it. Want to make it even more heartbreaking? At the end of the journey, Rover isn't able to save Yuno, but she is able to make Augusta remember her. The priestesses, the gladiators, nobody from Septimon remembers Yuno except for Augusta. And now she must live the rest of her life with the memories of her once dear friend and all that she sacrificed. Also, I'm sorry, but I just did not care about Yuno enough to want to save her. She's an okay character and it was a nice story, but before going on this insane resurrection quest, we spent like 10 minutes with her and barely interacted. She gave us a magic bracelet and was oddly flirtatious with us. Cool, I guess. When we learned she sacrificed herself, I thought it was tragic, but I didn't have a strong enough connection to her to want to revive her in the first place. She was very jokey and aloof for most of her scenes, which is fine in and of itself, but because of that, I wasn't able to build a strong connection to her, which resulted in me not really caring if she dies or not. And because of how little time spent with her, Rover being dead set on resurrecting her didn't make sense to me. She says she doesn't want to lose anything important to her, a dear friend, but Rover considering Yuno dear to her made zero sense to me.
I want it to be a story that gives people hope. By my spear, I vow to protect my allies and crush the hearts of the evil.
Give me all your bitterness. We will make them pay.
Pathetic as he was, in his final moments, he outran his fate.
I love Avidius! I wasn't expecting this random NPC at the beginning of Augusta's story to be one of my favorite characters in the whole game, but here we are. His tragedy of an artificial creation desperately fighting against his destiny was amazingly told. At first, he seemed like just another well-meaning gladiator aiming for the title of Effer. He had some good scenes, verbally attacking the corrupt senator and fighting alongside Augusta. But when we met him broken, confused, angry, and scared deep in the priestess temple, I was immediately hooked. I knew there was more to him than meets the eye. At the beginning of Act 10, we meet him again with a new vigor towards life, claiming he will not be a slave to some so-called destiny. He wants to create a new life for himself in Ragusa with his own two hands, free of fate. To that end, he joins us in the fight against the Dark Tide, but sadly, try as he might, he succumbs to the Dark Tide all the same. Broken and beaten, he gives in to his destiny. Once the dust settled, the brave gladiator Avidius broke free of his chains. He did not give up. He found the power within himself, the warmth of the radiant sun to fight back the cruel, endless tide. In the end, Avidius was a true hero. Although our time with him was brief, he, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, is one of the best written characters in Wuthering Waves. Granted, that's not saying a lot, but still, credit where credit is due. I wish he was playable. I would have definitely summoned him. And I mean, hey, Rover resurrected so who knows? Maybe in version 6.9 we'll go on some crazy time travel bullshit quest and resurrect him from the dead. Speaking of if she got the same treatment that Avidius got, I would have wanted to save her. The problem with her is that we didn't spend a lot of time with her, and what little time we did spend just wasn't that interesting. I would completely understand if Rover was dead set on resurrecting Avidius in some future story, but I just don't buy it. Also, guess what? The Rover finally failed! They desperately wanted to save Avidius, but couldn't! Ha! Loser! The Renacida finale is huge. Even though I could easily ramble about this for 8 hours, and honestly I kind of want to, I doubt anybody wants to actually watch that, so I'm going to jump from thought to thought. Act 10 and 11 had great atmosphere. The mood was heavy, civilians were scared for their lives, innocents succumbed to darkness and died. For the first time ever in this game, things felt dire, as if there was a chance the rover could fail and Renacida would be destroyed. The scene where Cantarella had to mercy kill what's-his-face was surprisingly heavy. The game didn't cut away in order to imply his death or any nonsense like that. No, we see it and it's great! I am so happy that the entire Renacida cast made an appearance and got their time to shine. Cantarella made constant appearances and contributions with her potions throughout the entire story. Carlotta and Zani got a section confronting false friend Rico during the Avidius portion of the story, and everyone else joined the fight once the assault on Setamont started. Watching everyone interact with Rover was nice, but more importantly, watching them interact with each other was something I've desperately wanted. Wuthering Waves has had a massive problem since launch where the characters rarely talk to each other. Mostly they just praise Rover and vomit exposition. Their interactions were great and hopefully this continues in version 3 onwards. Special shout out to the conversation between Phoebe and Carfefia during the epilogue, amazing characterization and growth from both of them. The Black Shores popping up was a nice surprise. Alto was great, but sadly he was the only one that actually said anything. Everyone else was just fighting in the background, but considering how massive the story was, I understand why they didn't say anything. Galbrenna, aka Dante's long-lost daughter, was a great character. This is 100% a reference to the opening of Devil May Cry 4. Her power of devouring was cool and unique, and I loved seeing her interact with Chimera. I could talk about her for a long time, but I already wasted your time talking about Yuno, so I won't. But I really liked how we slowly grew a bond and friendship with her. It felt surprisingly natural, unlike the majority of Rover's friendships. The Mindscape sequence was easily one of the best story moments in the entire game. Seeing the title screen in the story was crazy. And the Rainbow Walk was really well done. When all hope felt lost, Galbrenna used her flame to light the path towards victory. After hours of constant battling and setbacks, it felt well earned. The Avengers Assemble moment could have been incredibly cheesy, and it kinda was to some extent, but like I said, it felt well earned in the moment. Not gonna lie, I was hyped when I saw the fucking dragon pop out of nowhere. This random dragon that was barely in the story for like 5 minutes in version 2.0 came back, and it was honestly kinda cool. I don't know why, but I just got really excited when I saw them. Leviathan was a cool villain. I'm not even going to pretend like I understand its plan. So many random buzzwords were constantly being thrown around, and I was consistently confused. It doesn't help that I took a break for 4 months and forgot what most of these words meant. The final fight itself was also epic as hell. Everyone periodically popping in to help in the middle of combat was sick. Having access to the team-up mechanic, I forget what it's called, was dope, and Leviathan themselves using the weapons and skills of the various Renacida characters was dope. My only complaint is their design. Fleur-de-Lis with black goo all over is lame as hell. Literally all they had to do was give her mermaid legs, similar to Lamia from Punishing Grey Raven, Kudo's other gacha game. A Leviathan is a giant sea monster, so why not make Fleur-de-Lis part fish, kind of like a mermaid? That would have been great, but no, it's just Fleur-de-Lis with black goo. Kinda lame. Abby is evil? Who could have possibly guessed that? I'm so surprised. Okay. This Galbrenna set piece was fantastic, if not very clunky. Does this fix the problem I mentioned earlier about set pieces? Well, yes and no. Kinda. While fun, super creative, and I would love to see more varied moments like this in the story, this functions more like a mini game, and I personally want them to improve sections like the T-Rex where we have access to the normal gameplay mechanics. But I definitely hope they have more interesting, gimmicky, unique story moments like this in the future. Speaking of fixing problems, did Renacida's ending fix my issue with the lack of stakes? For the most part, yes. I already talked about the atmosphere and depth of some of the characters, most noticeably Avidius, a reoccurring NPC who we grew a strong bond with. But throughout the story, Rover and friends consistently were pushed into a corner and considered taking major, extremely risky actions with no guarantee to work, or experience minor victories like the Black Shore's backup, only to immediately be pushed into another corner. And just as our hope for victory was at its highest, the Fraxidus dropped an anvil on our heads and drowned everybody in the Dark Tide. The illusion sequence where everybody died in front of us was great. Watching Zani get shot in the back was insane, and I love it. But I will say this, I really wish one of the playable characters actually died. That would have been a great consequence of the actual war to save Renacida. While yes, random NPCs and Avidius did die, I think it would have been great if the developers and the storytellers were daring enough and willing enough to actually kill off a playable character. And honestly, I think Zani would have been the perfect candidate for that. Zani isn't super important in the world of Renacida, she just works for Carlotta, so killing her wouldn't necessarily harm the future of Renacida in any way, so the victory would still feel like a real victory for the future of Renacida specifically, its future survival and growth. But for Rover as a character and for the player base as well, losing Zani would have been a major blow, especially for the fan base because Zani is an incredibly popular character. Imagine if she actually did get shot in the back during the story. That would have been great, that would have been crazy, and it definitely would have added some real consequence to the war to save Renacida. Once the leader of the Fraxidus appeared and Cristofolo dropped us into the tide, it genuinely looked like we would lose. Rover losing the light in their eyes and giving up is exactly what I've been looking for. Gon was the perfect god that would always win without a sweat. The perfect god that could just kind of do whatever the hell they want. They would always find a way to save the day because they're just so insanely powerful and they can just kind of do whatever the hell they want. Finally, Rover experienced true hopelessness. Of course, we got the friendship is magic scene with Galbrena, but it was well written and felt earned after hours of constant loss and minor victories, and Rover almost giving up. Enrico's short return and sacrifice was true peak. I wish we saw more of him because he seemed like a really interesting character. He was in version 2.0, disappeared until the Frolova update where we learned he was being controlled and corrupted. He sacrificed himself, which was a nice moment, and he did the same thing again in the finale. He was oddly underutilized, which sucks because he had a lot of potential to be a great villain turned redeemed hero. In general, I'm tired of so many villains being redeemed in media, but this is a situation where it could have worked. Meeting the leader of the Fraxidus was a nice surprise. I was not expecting something like that to happen anytime soon. I mean, to be honest, ever since the game came out, I've personally had a theory that the Rover is the actual leader of the Fraxidus. They're the founder, some previous version of them created them for whatever reason. I don't know how common that theory is within the community of Wuthering Waves, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person who's thought of that. Anyways, Charon had a cool design and I'm excited to see him again in the future. Same goes for Cristofolo and Scar, but not Frolova. I'm shocked that she left the Fraxidus. It makes sense, but still, I wasn't expecting it, at least not now. After what happened with Rover in the Frolova update, I thought she might want to stick around with the Fraxidus a little bit longer to maybe get her quote-unquote revenge, but I guess not. Please don't give her a redemption arc! If Rover and her team up again to do something in the future, I'm fine with that, but at most, she better be an anti-hero and not become a full-blown good guy. I could genuinely talk about the Renacida conclusion for hours. Although I liked it, I do have plenty of criticisms as well, but this video is already long enough, and while I have no issues making a 5-hour long video, like I said, I doubt anybody wants to hear that. So let's move on to the grand finale of this video, the Chisa update, and my closing thoughts. The intro was a fantastic set piece, one of my favorites so far. Well, from a visual standpoint anyways, still has the same lack of consequence issue. Visually, this is easily one of the most beautiful locations in the entire game. The city is overrun by nature with the various foliage, places drowned in water, and has massive, gorgeous cherry blossom trees. All of the capybara iconography is simultaneously funny and adds a lot of character to the city itself. When I saw that we were going to a Japanese city, I was admittedly worried that it would be very bland and boring, but I'm happy to say they definitely alleviated all of my worries. Shoutouts to the music, so goddamn good! The music combined with the city itself reminded me a lot of Nier Automata. The story itself was okay. The various capybaras were adorable and I loved all of their vocal quirks. Shout out to Sherlock, not a single clue in that adorably fat head of his, but my god will he pretend like he's got one. The start of the story was great. Seeing these weirdly transparent people realize that something is deeply wrong and freak out, then disappearing immediately had me intrigued. It was a nice little mystery. As for the actual chisa part of the story, well, it was kind of boring for the most part. So much of the story was these super long cutscenes explaining how the city and the time reset functions. All of the techno mumbo jumbo started to bleed together after a while. Which, to be fair, makes sense to some extent. This entire situation is very technical, gimmicky, and unique, so it does require some explanation for the player to understand what is happening exactly. Luckily, the capybaras did add some much needed fun and whimsy, so I didn't want to blow my brains out. The scenes where we talked to Chisa and slowly grew a friendship with her were nice, but like always, Rover had their typical savior complex kick in, which made some of these moments really repetitive. There's only so many times I can watch Rover give the same uplifting speech before I turn my brain off and skip the cutscene. I didn't actually skip any of the cutscenes, but I really wanted to because I've seen Rover say these exact same lines about, oh, nobody can control you or your destiny. Only you can choose the life you want to live so many times in the past year and a half. You want to know what's really funny about the Rover talking about how nobody can decide your fate? The Rover is constantly deciding the fate of other characters. My favorite example, you guessed it, like seriously, decided she chose her own fate by sacrificing herself and erasing herself from history. But then the Rover comes flying in and it's like, no, I can't accept this as the ending of the story. I will change fate. I will change the timeline. I decide what Yuno's story is. I decide how her story ends. I decide her fate. Again, like I said in the very beginning of this the video, the Rover is a giant hypocrite. But I think what's so funny is that like the writers don't seem to realize that the Rover is a hypocrite. I thought they did because of the Frolova story, but then the Yuno thing and now the Chisa thing, I don't know, they're just constantly being like, oh no, I decide your fate. Nobody else, you can choose what you want to do, unless it's something that I don't like, in which case I decide what your future is. Oh my god. This wasn't scripted, by the way. This was completely off the top of my head, so sorry about that. But, whatever. Chisa herself is a good character. Growing up in an isolated town that persecuted her and her fellow Resonators, and seeing how that affected her was really interesting, and it was easily the best part of the actual story. Her friendship with Sumika, although only lightly touched upon, was tragically heartwarming. The ending section was great, some really cool set pieces with the running section, and the Chisa school sequence was a great insight to her struggle. But then we have the epilogue, and more specifically, the date. I hated it. It was just so random and completely unnecessary. I don't have any issues with romance in gacha games, but it needs to be well written, and this was just not. My main issue with Gathering Wives is that none of this is going anywhere. Buying a drink, the swing set, taking a picture together, the cherry blossom moment, none of this matters. Chisa and Rover are never going to become an actual couple, and Rover is never going to develop real romantic feelings for Chisa. So her developing a crush and the story spending time on that instead of further developing her story and all of the Lahairoi stuff is a complete waste of time. Chisa is a good character, but the date does not exist to further develop her. It exists solely to use the power of waifu to make more people spend more money on her banner. Anyways, all of the Lahairoi teaser stuff was really interesting. All in all, Wuthering Waves is certainly a game that exists. The Augusta and Renacida finale proved to me that the writers are fully capable of writing good stories. But the Yuno story and bizarre Chisa date also showed me that the writers are still suffering from generic waifu pandering. If you want to do all of this Gathering Wives stuff, okay, do that. Let's go on an actual real date with these characters. Let's actually have the Rover fall in love with someone and want to go out with them. Let's have the Rover kiss someone. Let's actually do it. Let's do the romance. But no, instead of that, you just have all of these stupid, boring, like, sensei, oh my god. Or, oh, let's have that moment where the wind blows on Chisa's face, making her hair fly backwards and the cherry blossoms swirl around her and make her blush and all of this other stupid stuff. Like, none of this is going anywhere. So it's just a complete waste of time. If you want to actually do gathering wise, do it. Stop being scared and actually do the damn thing. Again, that was not scripted. That was off the top of my head. Anyways, in terms of gameplay, the core combat is still good. I do have some criticisms, but that is beyond the scope of this video. The story has a lot of fun set pieces, gimmicks, and cool boss fights to keep things interesting in between the fluctuating story quality. I enjoyed my time catching up with Wuthering Waves, and I'm looking forward to version 3. Speaking of version 3, remind me to get a new barber. So, we recently got a gameplay reveal and a big fancy cinematic for lynae Roy, version 3 of Wuthering Waves, and honestly, I'm not entirely sure how to feel about it. In terms of character designs, I feel fairly lukewarm about most of them. Lynae or lynae, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, looks okay. Personally, I'm kind of tired of the whole schoolgirl aesthetic. I've been watching anime since I was like 5 years old. I'm over it. You know, like I've seen more than enough schoolgirls. So personally, I don't really care. But in terms of a schoolgirl, she looks okay. You know, she's got a lot of fun accessories. She's got like her little headphones. She's got like a bunch of like small little things throughout her clothing. She has her jacket, which I think looks kind of nice because it has this like rainbow effect on it, like on the sides or something like that. And I think that's kind of cool. So, you know, as far as schoolgirls go, she looks okay. Gameplay wise, I think she looks great. The fact that she's got like these like hover boots, the motorcycle, gameplay wise, she has like her guns, but then she also has like spray paint bottles that she like throws and explodes and stuff. Gameplay wise, I think she looks amazing, and I'm definitely gonna summon for her. The other girl, Myrene or something, I don't remember off the top of my head. Again, design wise, I think she looks okay. I like her legs. Her legs are really cool because they're like translucent or transparent or something, and they look like they're made out of crystal or something like that, which is pretty cool visually. Gameplay wise, I think she looks okay. You know, she summons like a bunch of lasers and stuff. It's like, it's cool, you know, but nothing I've never seen before, you know, like in terms of just video games in general. Like, you know, the lasers are cool and everything, but like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I should really like her design, but for some reason I'm kind of like about it. I really like her legs, but that's kind of like the only thing about her design that stands out to me. So I don't know if I'm gonna summon for her. Supposedly, I think she's supposed to be like a sub DPS for lynae or something. I don't know. If I do summon for her, it's purely gonna be for the sake of lynae more than because of her specifically. I do like the girl with orange hair. I thought her design looked nice. I mean, I think it looks okay. You know, her shirt confuses me a little bit because I can't really tell if it's supposed to be a shirt or like a jacket or whatever. Hopefully her gameplay is good. You know, maybe she's gonna be like a support or something. I don't know. I think I like her design the most for some reason. I don't really know why. I should love the purple haired girl. Like, theoretically, it's a design concept that I love. I love those kinds of characters. But I don't know, something about her just doesn't really grab my attention. I don't know why. And then the dude is incredibly boring. Again, I feel like I should like his design, but like nothing about him really stands out to me. Design wise anyways. Gameplay wise, who knows? Maybe he's gonna be cracked out of his goddamn mind. Maybe he's gonna be really cool. But I haven't seen his gameplay yet, so I can't really say. From the little bit that we saw of the world itself, I did like it. You know, I thought the area looked kind of nice. I like the idea of it being like, because from my understanding, lynae Roy, the parts of it that isn't the school anyways, is mainly like ice themed. There's like ice crystals or whatever. It's supposed to be like an ice wasteland or something like that. So from the little bit that we saw, I liked it. I thought it looked nice. The boss was cool. The motorcycle, really cool. I thought it was originally exclusive to lynae, but from my understanding, it's actually like a universal traversal mechanic. So that's interesting. I mean, based on the trailer, it is her bike, but I guess we're gonna get access to it as a traversal mechanic. I don't know, whatever. Hopefully it's fun, you know. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't like the idea of going to school. I think that's really fucking stupid. Like, why is Rover this like theoretically like 20-year-old? From my understanding, the Rover is supposed to be like in their early 20s, at least visually, body wise. They're like in their early 20s. Why the fuck are we going to high school? Like, because we're classmates with Chisa, presumably, and she is a high schooler. She was like a junior or something like that. So presumably we're going to high school? What? Why the fuck are we going to high school, bro? It's so stupid. And then it's listen, I have my own feelings about the whole gathering wives aspect of Wuthering Waves. I don't necessarily have any issues with building like a romantic relationship with characters. My issue is just that it feels very forced most of the time. The only exception to that is Shorekeeper, in my opinion. I feel like that's the only romantic relationship that actually makes sense. A lot of the other ones like Carfifia, Chisa even felt very forced, you know. I don't necessarily hate the idea of gathering wives. It's more so just like the execution of it is really dumb and not at all interesting to me. Like, if you want to build a romantic relationship between characters, by all means, go ahead and do that. I just don't think they do a good job of that in the game, in the story. Chisa is the best recent example of it. It felt really weird and awkward when we just randomly went on a date with her. And going to high school, like, the whole gathering wives thing is probably gonna hit a fever pitch recently. Now, if they're gonna do that, hopefully the writing just gets better, because I just have no interest in that right now. But I'd rather just focus on the cool stuff, like the actual lore and the monsters, the Turnodians, the Sentinels. The High Warrior doesn't have a Sentinel. That's kind of cool. Like, explore that. I hope they don't waste a lot of time with the whole gathering wives aspect of the game. If they do it, hopefully it's just like a side thing. It's something that doesn't really get focused on. But we'll see. I don't know. Even aside from the whole gathering wives thing, in general, going to school is just really dumb, in my opinion. Like, what? It feels really weird to do that now. You know, we already did the Huang Long story. We did the Rinasita story. And now all of a sudden we're going to school. Like, if anything, we should have gone to school in version 1. And then we should have done like Huang Long and Rinasita and all of that stuff. That feels more natural from like a progression standpoint of the story and the world. We start in school and then we explore the world. That makes way more sense to me, rather than now all of a sudden we're going to school. But I don't know. I did like the ending of Rinasita. I thought the storytelling, well, I do have my own criticisms. In general, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's some of the best storytelling the Wuthering Waves has had. We also had the Furloa story. You know, the Furloa was also amazing. So I definitely think they can tell a good story with the whole school thing. I'm just worried because of, I don't know. I feel like more stories in Wuthering Waves are bad. There's more bad or mediocre stories in Wuthering Waves than there are good stories, in my opinion, which is why I'm mostly worried. But the Septimon ending, or the Rinasita ending, was recent. That was 2 updates ago, or when version 3 releases, it's gonna have been 2 updates ago. So hopefully, hopefully it's good, but we shall see. Anyways, I've wasted more than enough of your time. So it's hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, leave a comment about either the video itself, about what I said, or about version 3. Feel free to share your own thoughts about version 3. Thank you for watching. Become a channel member if you want. Click the join button. If not, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye bye.